Hello and welcome to Season 7, Episode 7 of the Data Governance Podcast. And this week I'm joined by Shree Neve from ClicData, who is going to talk to me all about how business intelligence and data governance team can work together. It's something that I've advocated for many years, so I just can't wait to discuss this topic with Shree. So let's dive on in. This episode is brought to you by ClicData. ClicData is a cloud-based data management and analytics platform that allows you to seamlessly connect, store, transform, visualize, and automate data from any business app, storage system, and database. Welcome, Shree. It's lovely to have you here. Now, I've known from my experience that, it's a lot better if, say, business intelligence teams and data governance teams work together. But being a bit of a data governance geek and not a business intelligence geek, I thought it'd be really useful to actually get somebody who understands, the analytics background, which clearly you have, but also that overlap as to perhaps where data governance and business intelligence can work with each other. Now, I expect a lot of people listening to this will already know what business intelligence is, but being that data governance is all about definitions, I wonder if we could start with if you could give just a very brief explanation of what business intelligence is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Nicola, for the introduction. So according to me, I think business intelligence in its most simplest terms is simply about gathering, analyzing, and visualizing your data to basically gain insights for your business. I put it in this way that if you're driving a car, the dashboard will indicate you what's happening with your car at one single place. It's right in front of your eyes. You can understand if you're running low on mileage, if you're running low on fuel, if you have issues with your engine. And that's what business intelligence does. It's a complex tool running behind the engine and eventually producing an output that can tell you how to make data-driven decisions for your organization.
Excellent. That's a really useful explanation. And I love the analogy. I'm such a fan of analogies. So the obvious next question, is, given how I've introduced you and built you up as to what you're going to explain to us, is how would you describe that relationship between business intelligence and data governance?
So just as I explained, what business intelligence does is more about your data-driven approach to making decisions. I try to use the analogy like imagine a lighthouse guiding a ship through the vast ocean of data. And what if those lighthouses were not placed in the right point of interest? They wouldn't be helpful, would they? So that's what data governance and business intelligence is. Data governance helps you set policies and standard and processes in place so that your data is reliable, of proper quality. And without this proper data governance, your business intelligence would not produce appropriate results. You need to be comfortable at the data that you're looking at. The data should be relevant. It should not be misleading. And data governance helps and sets that stage up for business intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you've probably come across the same as me, that over the years, quite often business intelligence teams report that they're spending even up to half their time finding the data or fixing it and correcting it if you don't have data governance in place. So, data governance teams are normally good friends with a business intelligence team, but just being good friends is not a useful business concept. So if you're having like this, data framework for an organization, can you explain, perhaps how business intelligence and data governance fit in that, how they work together?
Yeah, and as you just said it, like data governance and business intelligence are good friends, but what we have observed by providing these consulting services to different clients is typically data governance is considered a step in the framework before business intelligence. This makes sense. You need to have accurate data, trustworthy data to report any information. But I don't see them as linear steps. I think both data governance and business intelligence should run in parallel. Today's BI landscape is far more advanced than what it used to be before. Before, BI was more about creating reports for your management. But today, BI is not just creating report for your management. It's about doing data management, running your ETL models on top of your data, using artificial intelligence to enhance your information, or creating a dashboard and eventually collaborating it with everyone. So given this advanced capabilities of today's BI tools, I think both data governance and BI should typically run in parallel as processes in your data framework. Yeah, that's what I would say, at least how the framework should be organized. I can go in detail if you want about different steps, but yeah.
I think one thing I'd love to pick up on, because it's such a hot topic at the moment, as you were saying about perhaps the use of AI, is how do you think we can do data governance in a way that doesn't be seen as perhaps obstructing and blocking things? Because perhaps it comes back to what you're saying about in parallel, because you and I both know that using AI actually makes an even better case for getting data governance in first, getting all your data understood and documented before you start playing with AI. But we know that some organizations are undoubtedly going to be playing with AI, perhaps hopefully in safe environments, test environments to begin with. But how do you think that the data governance and that business intelligence and the use of AI can work together in parallel?
I think when it comes to AI, it's typically how the model is being trained with your data. And the most important part is you have to train the model with accurate data. If you start feeding the model a biased data set towards any side, the results that you're going to get in future are going to be biased towards that particular side. Data governance comes in play in this whole process, where you can make sure that the data that you're collecting from your CRM systems or from your financial systems is accurate and does not have these extreme ends. For instance, I'll just take up a project that we were doing at ClicData. We are trying to predict how many customers would end up churning, or how many contacts that we are receiving would end up becoming customers in the next few months. And when we started training the AI model using the CRM data that we have, we realized that a lot of CRM data are missing fields like what businesses these contacts were part of, or what kind of role this particular contact had in the organization. And if we would have started training the model without having all the information about all the contacts, we would have had probably 30% of the contacts which have information, and the model will start leaning towards those contacts because only 30% of the contacts had that relevant information. On top of that, we've noticed that when a new contact comes to our website or something, most of the technical contacts tend to put their contact information, but business users try not to put their contact information. So again, your AI model is leaning towards a technical profile. And imagine me running a model on that. It would just keep on telling me that technical users are going to buy your software, but that's not the case. It was just because the business users did not find it relevant at that particular point of time to fill in that information. So you have to make sure that the data that you're training your AI model on is complete and has relevant information before you start using AI. And going back to your question, I think this is where you need to make sure that the data governance and BI team is working together, because if your users start using the AI capabilities without knowing the completeness of your data, they're not going to get the results in the right way or what they're expecting the business to run like.
No, absolutely. I think that's really helpful. Thank you, Shree. So I think we've been looking at one side of the coin, which is perhaps data governance being the good guys and helping the business intelligence team. But I think you've got the view that actually BI can help the data governance team as well. So I wondered if you could, perhaps explain, give us some ideas of some of the key areas of data governance and how BI can play a role to help in those.
Yeah, that's interesting. And as I said before, like most of the companies today, they think BI coming after the data governance process. And I'm still of the opinion, and we try to communicate to our clients that it has to be together. And we can start with the most simplest step in a data governance process, which is your data quality management. It is the key pillar of data governance. Data quality management ensures that the data you're collecting is adhering to certain standards, making it accurate and reliable for analysis. Most BI tools are going to offer you features such as standardization and normalizations to check your data. This is crucial because today's businesses, they collect data in different formats from so many different applications, and each application is going to give you a different level of quality for that particular data. For example, we saw recently, let's say a company opens up a form on their website and allows their users to type in a state. So some users would type in state codes and some would end up typing in an entire state name. This is an inconsistent way of formatting for the state. And if you have a BI in place along with your data governance, it can help you capture these inconsistencies and eventually help you to set some standardization and normalization rules on top of that data so that every state code that is being fed to the end report is actually either a short code or a full name. So that's just one example of how data governance and BI can be together, just doing the data quality management.
Yeah, I like that, because if I went to, say, a data steward and said, could you write me some data quality rules for states? They'd probably go, and think about it. Whereas you're saying we can use the BI team to do perhaps some basic profiling. It doesn't actually have to do anything overly clever, does it? To say this is what's in the field and suggest what might be the most useful. And then it helps the business user come up with what they think the standard should be, because you've given them the information to start with.
Right. And most of the the BI tools, they'll also act as your data warehouse today. So a case could be a business typically works with marketing team, has sales team, finance team. So already most of the businesses today are having three systems. So financial system, a CRM system, and different portfolio of the marketing platform systems that they're using. The BI tool will act as your data warehouse. You need to collaborate all the information together into a single data repository before you even set up those rules and procedures in place. You can't do data governance without knowing all the sources and how the data looks like from that different sources. Only once you have a sense of that, and not in individual silos, I think once you have a sense of that in a combined way, that's when you can start setting up these rules. And again, the BI system can help you with that, putting that in place.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're definitely making the case for us working together well. Were there any other areas of data governance that you think BI has a role to play in?
I think in pretty much in every step of data governance, I think BI has a role to play. Another example I could talk about is one of the key pillars of data governance is data security and ownership. You need to make sure that someone is responsible for your data, someone is the owner of the data, typically like a chief data officer in your organization. And you need to make sure that the data is secured and only the right people have access to the right level of information. Imagine working with a healthcare provider and the healthcare provider exposing patients' critical information on a dashboard. They'll definitely have a lot of legal issues doing that. So they have to be careful about what information is exposed and to whom that information is exposed. As the advanced BI tools today, they'll typically have opportunities for you to set different security roles and measures on the data that you have. What we tend to tell the users is keep one key responsible person, a chief data officer, who has access to all the information. And that chief data officer defines which subset of data is accessible by which subset of user. If the sales information is only accessed by the sales team, but the sales team might also need some marketing information to create a meaningful dashboard. So they have access to some marketing information, but you don't want your marketing colleague's salary to be exposed to the sales team people. So again, just creating a subset of that particular information and giving the right level of access to the right people. And I think the BI tool helps in data security and ownership in the right way. The other thing I can think about is data catalog. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Carry on. I think we just had a slight time lag. That's right. I think we just had a time lag, Shree. So if you want to carry on, we can edit that bit out.
Okay, yeah. The other area that I can think of is data cataloging, which is, again, a very key area within data governance. It is all about creating and organizing the inventory of your data assets. A BI tool can help you provide a metadata management system. It helps you understand how much data you have cataloged, and it helps you manage the data assets efficiently. This can ensure that someone can easily find the relevant information. An example I can talk about is we come across many clients, and especially from a business user standpoint, who come with a simple question that I want to see what my sales are for the current month. For them, it's a simple question. But when you talk about the back-end implementation of that, a business is running an e-commerce site, they have physical stores, they're collecting data on multiple e-commerce platforms, then you have marketplaces in cross-channel platforms, you might be selling on Amazon, so Amazon is giving you some data, the other platforms are giving you some data, and then your physical stores are storing the data into a POS system. And on top of that, if you are managing multiple locations in multiple countries, you have your sales in different currencies in your POS system, or sometimes you might not even have the same POS system across different countries. So a simple question about how my sales are doing cannot be answered simple. There's a lot of complication behind the scene that is happening. Someone has to connect to these 10 different sources of information, create a simple table that gives you what was my sale each region, each day, and eventually give that result to that business user. So this is where data cataloging and BI would come in together, where the BI would help you to combine all the data sources together, create a merge table, which contains all the simple information. And when a business user is asking you the information, give them access to the final output that already has the clean data, but don't give them access to individual tables, because the business user might not know how the data is talking with each other, or they might assume that only POS system contains all the information and the sales number being represented might not be the actual sales for your organization.
Excellent. That has been really helpful, Shree, and hopefully you've convinced everybody listening that the data governance teams and the business intelligence teams just have to work together closer. So I just want to round up with putting you on the spot, I'm afraid, and saying, what advice in that case would you offer to data governance practitioners who are listening to us now and who want to work closer with their BI colleagues? How should they start doing that?
The first advice I would say is start bringing a cultural change about keeping these two as a separate teams. I think it should not be optional that data governance and BI teams should work together. It should be mandatory. They should work together, and only then you can get the most use of the organization's data. The second thing I would say is use BI to guide your data governance framework. What we encourage our clients to do is create a data health dashboard as part of your governance framework. I can talk about a recent example that we worked with. We were working with a law firm who was using ClicData to create dashboards for their operational activity. They wanted to report on revenue metrics, eternity metrics, and a few marketing metrics that they were planning to. But very early in the process, we realized that they had no rules for data collection, and all the reports that you're going to get are most likely going to be unreliable reports. So we recommended them a two-stage approach. We said, okay, first and foremost, let's make sure that the data governance and the BI team is working together. Let's start mapping your data and creating a catalog of your data. Let's simply identify what data sources you're using, what is the purpose of each of these data sources, and assign a leader to know this whole information. Let's document the whole process. And stage two is let's use a data health dashboard as part of your governance framework to guide you through the completeness of the data. We created a dashboard that allows them to see if the data was missing certain entries. For instance, did your CRM data have all the entries that you're hoping to? Does everyone have a billing information? Does everyone have a phone number? If you don't have phone numbers, lawyers can't call you. Do they have a phone number before onboarding those particular clients? Let's figure that out. Create a dashboard that simply displays that information and start taking actionable insights on that. If 30% of your contacts don't have certain field, let's flag the contacts back to your CRM so that you can reach out to the contacts and get the accurate information. The second thing, using a data health dashboard, what we ended up doing was, let's say your attorneys are billing and they're typically tracking time on their case management system, and eventually you're invoicing out of your accounting system. We found a gap. If you had to track the number of hours by an attorney and multiply it with the standard rate, the invoice amounts was not matching to how much you should have billed them. So there was a loss of revenue. Attorneys are billing out of your case management system and they're tracking time, and your invoicing system is invoicing your clients. But there was a significant difference between the number of hours billed by the attorney and multiplied with the standard rate to the invoice that you were doing to the client. The data health dashboard helped them identify if the numbers on both the system are equal. And if it's missing something, let's flag those invoices because probably the client was under or overcharged, and make those corrections before you send that invoice to the client. In terms of what advice I would offer, I think making your data health dashboard part of your data governance framework, making that part of your data governance framework, you're inherently making your BI team part of the process. And this is going to guide the implementation of data governance rules and procedures and provide real-time monitoring to ensure ongoing compliance. This approach will make your data of high quality and actually leverage this information for better decision-making.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shree. You've shared so many valuable insights there, and hopefully inspired all my listeners to go and work with their BI teams, because I'm sure that by working together they can achieve so much more when it comes to managing data better in their organization. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Nicola.
So I hope you found that useful and it inspired you to go away and work more closely with your business intelligence team if you weren't already. Now, we've had a run of interview podcasts of late because there's just been so many interesting people to talk to. However, next week it's just me on my own, and I am going to talk about whether you can fast track the creation of your data glossary by using standard definitions. So I hope you'll join me then.